excavations trying to have fun and like fuse
Now they're gonna bury me.
Everybody's doing it.
All the cool kids are doing it. Come on. You can't be cool, Charles. Oh,
I'll schedule it.
that's what you're doing. Oh, maybe you can cast the other one, huh? Yay!
He's telling me he didn't even answer.
Yay, tours!
Oh, you poor
This is Noelle's steampunk wheelchair. It's not ordinarily part of the door. She's just part of her wheelchair back there right now. So this is our masters and mold making department, and what happens is our sculptors start with an idea. Sometimes this idea is presented to them in a piece of concept art that would be drawn by Tim Collier or Wayne Reynolds or one of our many other concept artists. Or they get that idea out of their own head and go, hey, I need if you're Derek Schubert, for example, you go, hey, I'm playing in a D&D game and I need a character mini for this, and you make it. And then they send us the green, and this is what it comes in like. I'm going to pass this around so you can handle it. It's made out of a 2-part epoxy resin. One part is yellow, one part is blue. You mix those together and you get green. We call the resulting item a green because we're very good at coming up with imaginative names. The green is sculpted with an assortment of implements of torture that appear to be dental tools, but are really, in fact, sinister, evil things. Once they've got that completed, they send it into us, where it gets into Kevin's hands. And Kevin's job is to make sure it survives the process of being put on a mold. The reason that's important is because we use vulcanized rubber, and our vulcanizers put out 1,200 pounds of pressure and cook at 350 degrees. The resin is very flexible. But it will break and crack under pressure, and if the original green breaks, then we can't replicate it again because it is an original hand-sculpted work of art. So Kevin does what he has to do. He says the proper incantations. He makes it survive the pressing process. We'll take that mold back into casting and generate about a dozen or so metal copies. Those metal copies we call our masters, and those master copies will be used from that point forward to make all future production molds. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay, you look like you were about to ask something.
Later.
Okay.
Planning ahead.
We'll take those masters then, and this is one of our mold boxes. We'll lay down sheets of mold rubber. We'll arrange the masters around it. We'll put the heavy steel lid back onto it, hammer it into place, put it in the vulcanizer. While it's getting cooked, the rubber gets up to 350 degrees. Spends about 30 minutes at a completely liquid state, at which point it flows into every little crack and crevice, and then it begins to solidify. When it comes out, it's pretty much like car tire rubber, just like these. I'm going to pass these around so you guys can handle those. Those are molds. You can open them up and look inside. Those are our special convention mousling. You guys all got one with your goodie bag if you picked up a 4-day pass. Well, if you just got a day pass, you didn't get it.
So you can purchase it.
Yeah, you could. You can purchase it here at the show as well, but we give them out free. So.
Go ahead.
We then cut in all the little gates and vents so that the metal can get in and channel so that the air can get out. And then we put this little funnel in the top. You guys won't be able to see it spinning in the machine because it's completely encased. But it'll be put inside a spin caster. It'll be spinning around about 45 RPMs. Those of you who are familiar with record players, it's about as fast as an LP. And those of you who aren't, that's okay. It's not something you can download. And the metal will pour into the funnel, and the centrifugal force of its spinning will push all the metal all the way out to the edges and help it fill out. So if you guys have any questions about our mold making process or what Masters has to do to get a mini on mold or any of that? No questions. All right. Before we go into casting then, let me ask my favorite question. Somebody name your favorite single piece, preferably Dark Heaven miniature.
Well, I was going to say Chronoscope, but 5211 Tommy the Wolf.
5211 Tommy the Wolfman? All right. Yeah. Everybody like Teen Wolf? Okay. Sure. Some of you remember Teen Wolf. Okay. Yeah, all right, let's go.
Thank you.
Keith made this one easy for me because he already knew the number. That's the correct mold. Alrighty. Let's move on. Is line 8 up?
Yes.
Okay. Move on over here down to line 8. Move this out of our way so we can grab around. Alright. This is one of our casting lines. I can ask you guys to not come any closer than right about here for safety reasons, because we are working with hot metal, but let's try and squeeze in. Come on, a little more, a little more. Okay, a little more.
Someone who has not been here.
Shorter
Video
people up front.
cameraman. Yeah.
You're good.
Squeeze it a little more. You might see. You had the tour already taken. Okay. So we use talc as a release agent on our molds. It's pretty much the same as the talcum powder you get in the store, except ours doesn't have any fragrance at it because we don't care what the metal smells like.
Hey, some of us do.
I need my casting gloves. I got one here. Has anybody seen another blue glove somewhere? I can do this Michael Jackson style if I have to. I'll just use a gray glove. Okay, so I will be mismatched. So we've applied the powder. The powder acts like marbles on a tile floor. You want the metal when it hits the surface to flow across it smoothly. Rubber is very good at making things stop. It's why you put it on your car tires. It's why it's on the bottom of your shoes. We don't want the metal to hit the rubber and begin to tumble and create a texture. So we put a little bit of talc on there. It'll help make the metal smooth, give the metal just a little bit of a fine texture, make it easier for your paint to stick to it. And it also just makes it easier to get the metal in and out of the mold because it reduces the friction between the metal and the mold. We're running right now at just about 700 degrees. At 700 degrees, can you see this, Mark?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. 700 degrees, our metal flows and pours just like water. It will splash like water, and it will leave a mess on your countertop like water. It does have a few advantages over water, and it's a lot easier to clean off. The one thing, it freezes at 350 degrees instead of 32. I clamp that plate in place. That plate will keep the metal from squeezing out between the two halves of the mold.
Now you're good.
Now we just pour in just a little bit here. It's only going to take about 15 to 20 seconds for those figures to cool off. Like I said, our freezing point is 350 degrees. So we only have to lose a couple of hundred degrees and the rubber is already fairly cold. So we just give that a few seconds, pull it out. Now we'll take another minute or two before these are cool enough to handle, because they have to get well below 100 degrees, or at least 100 degrees or less for them to be safe, because they can still be solid and still be hotter than boiling water. But the important part is the figures themselves are solid and well formed. So like I said, we'll just give that a little bit more time, and then ones like this one didn't fill out all the way, and see, it froze before it completely solidified. So we just take that. We'll just drop it right back in, and on the next tour, that one will get a chance to be something else, and maybe it can grow up someday to be a Mini that people will love. It's all a Mini can hope for, really. So those are still very hot, so please don't touch. But we'll pop these out of the mold and give them a chance to cool off here on the table. Our casters are expected generally to produce one new mold every 45 seconds. Now that will vary. If they're running something like a dragon can take 3 to 5 minutes to cool off. If you've got something like, if you can see what this is our little Demon Baby, familiar? Demon Baby probably only takes about 20 seconds. So they can really run 2 or 3 Demon Babies a minute. Whereas a normal figure, you're going to get about 2 every minute and a half, and then something like a dragon every 5 minutes. But even so, they generally average, we did the math on it, 12,000, I think it was, 12,000 miniatures per day per caster. And they make 750,000 figures per year. Okay. So, you guys have any other questions about casting or how that works, or what it is, what kind of voodoo they do on this line to make things happen?
For the casting, do you just set up a whole set of the molds for your casters and they just run through them as the day goes on?
Yeah.
Or
we generate a batch of between 10 and 20 molds. They'll line these molds up on these racks, and these racks help control the temperature. Heat is the #1 enemy of the molds. Rubber does not want to be superheated and then cooled off and then heated and then cooled off. It happens to your tires, and you'll know your car tires get crumbly. Our molds will do the same thing. And when those oils are completely dried up inside that rubber turns to dust and becomes useless, and we have to make new molds of it. So you guys take one of these and pass them around.
How do you determine which models get made? I mean, obviously it's an inventory base, but
As far as what gets produced, you just take one and pass them around.
yeah.
We've got a computer program that tracks what gets ordered, and then we track what our inventory over time is, as well as what our current needs are. So if I know right now I have an order for 100 Teen Wolves, and I don't have any of those figures in stock, I'll go ahead and I'll make what I need for the existing order. The computer will tell me how many I will need to keep a 2 or 3 month supply on hand. And so when I make it, I won't just make the 100 I need. I might make 500 or whatever that number the computer will tell me.
So it's not just walking down the line of boxes and finding out which one's empty.
No. Any other questions?
How many spins do you get out of a typical mold?
We say about 1,000, and that varies a lot. Somebody that's really soft and curvy, like this Arachne girl, she doesn't have a lot of spiky bits, but if you've got somebody like, we've got one dwarf, and I can't remember his name, but he's just absolutely covered in spikes. I think his name is Spike, the War Master. He's just got spikes all over it. He tears up those spikes every time they rip across the rubber. They put a little tear into it, and a little tear into it, and a little tear into it. And over the course of several hundred spins, they'll have successfully torn out a fairly sizable chunk of that rubber. And at that point, you'll notice that he's begun to grow what looks like broccoli on the ends of his spikes. And as soon as we see that, we go, okay, we got to throw that mold out and make a new one. So a soft figure, I've got molds in here right now that are 20 years old. But we've also got molds that we have to remake every couple of months. So,
Can you reuse, like, do you remelt the rubber, or do you just top? I mean, how does that work?
we can't remelt it. Once it's been vulcanized, it's undergone a chemical change that doesn't allow it. It can be chopped up and shredded if you remove the metal lock nuts, and can be chopped up and turned into recycled playground equipment. Well, I don't know in terms of gallons. I know that each one of our crucibles in there holds 50 pounds of metal at a given time. And we have gone through as much as 12,000 pounds, which is 6 tons of metal in one day. I was not an employee at the time we did that. The most I've ever seen in one day is 4 tons. That was a bit. That was a difficult work day. But we generally go through about a ton a week. So this is our wheel of paint. We actually have 2 of these. Right now we only have 1 of them set up for the show. We take the little plastic blister. I've got some up here somewhere. Here we go. No? Okay. We take the little plastic blister, we pop it in the socket, we put the figure in, and you put the card on top of it. The card has an adhesive on it that is stable at room temperature, but the plate in here is 350 degrees, and that's enough to melt the glue and stick it to the plastic. We're not actually melting the plastic, we're not generating any fumes. I don't want my workers to get sick and die. They don't are nearly as productive when they're dead as they are when they're alive. So that's very important to me. But beyond that, this is one of our main inventory software. Let's take a fairly complicated piece, number 3000, the Dragon Kirin Lava Raft. Kirin Lava Raft, if I remember correctly, is like a 14-part menu. In order to keep track, that we show a picture of it so that our employees, we use a lot of college kids and part-time high school students and things like that. So we have a picture so you can tell whether or not you've got the right figures. And then we have a list of exactly what you're supposed to put in it. So this tells us part A, which is described as its body, the legs, and it goes down the list. Shows you absolutely every piece that goes inside. So the packagers know when they've got it in front of them whether or not they have all the right pieces. Then they'll generate in here the quantity they're going to package. When they enter that number into this field, it prints out the labels that go on the boxes. Those labels have a barcode on them that will track it through the rest of the process. But as soon as they've made it, if they go, I made 60, it'll automatically put 60 into inventory at that point. When it goes over to our shipping computers and we're ready to ship the order, we scan that barcode. The computer knows how many pieces you ordered, and the barcode will go, okay, you've ordered 1. They'll scan it, it'll subtract that from your order, so when we're done with everything on your order is now completely blank. But it'll also, at that moment, remove that 1 from inventory. And then that system allows us to track how many were ordered, so how many were sold, so we know how many we need to produce the next time we make them. Let me go ahead and... I just threw off our inventory, but that's okay. So this is what the barcode would look like. It just tells us that this box would contain two number 3000 Karen Lamberath, and that barcode just works for our internal software. So, you guys have any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much. I'm Reaper Brian, or just Brian if you prefer. If you guys have any questions or need anything for the rest of the show, flag me down, and I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.